Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another story in the life of the old-time rock and roller. Today's topics are celebrities, TV, and sports. The other day I got to thinking about some of the personalities I had met on the road that dealt with TV and were sports figures. So the first one I want to talk about is Rick Springfield. Now, you know, he was Dr. Noah in General Hospital. But I first met Rick in 1978 when my roommate, Mark Levine, and a drummer friend of mine, Eddie Rodriguez, played with Rick at the Whiskey. So I went down and Mark introduced us, and it was really cool. 2 years later, he had Jesse's Girl out, and then he was Dr. Noah on General Hospital. And a funny twist to that was, if you recall, there was a hit song called General Hospital. And Doc's wife, Rebecca, sang on it. And Doc played in a band with me for a short time. The next person I want to speak about is James Garner. His first role on TV that I really liked, and I used to watch this show with my dad, was Maverick. It was Brett and Bart Maverick, a couple of brothers, and Brett always had a $1,000 bill pinned inside of his coat. His pappy said, "You keep that there and you'll never be broke." Well, I was in my house on McCadden Place, and I woke up, and there was a little trailer in front of the house. So I walked out to see what was going on, knocked on the door, and I noticed a sign that said James Garner, the Rockford Files. So James came to the door, and I introduced myself and told him that my dad and I were big fans and we used to watch Maverick. And he said, "Well, get ready to relive your childhood because that's coming back." And it did. It came back for a season or two. Then he said, "Well, I've got to go shoot now. You want to come along?" I said, "Sure." So I walked down to Sunset Boulevard, which was the corner street, and they had it blocked off, and it was one of those detective things. It was pretty cool, really. But he was a nice guy, really nice. And Rick Springfield was nice, too. I was on the road with my band playing the New England area. When we finished the shows, the band flew back to Atlanta. But I decided to visit my sister in Richmond. So I spent a day or two there, and then went to the airport to fly out. Well, I was at the bar, and I looked over, and I saw this enormous man. I recognized him right away. It was Andrae the Giant, and he had about 25 empty screwdrivers all on the cabinet there. And I said, "Andrae," and I introduced myself, and he reached out to shake my hand. If you know what a major league catcher's mitt is like in baseball, you know, it's about this big. So when he shook my hand, it was like the giant catcher's mitt wrapped around my hand. He was just about 7 feet tall and close to 400 pounds. We talked a minute, and I told him I was a fan, and I asked him if I could buy him a drink. And he said, "Sure." And then I asked for his autograph, and he said, "Of course, but I'm not going to sign anything but a nice autograph book." So I happened to have something like that with me, and Andrae signed it. My plane came time to board, and I bid Andrae farewell. Next were the glorious ladies of wrestling. Now, my tour manager and I were flying to Chicago, and we stopped at Philadelphia, and it was early, maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. And we were sitting there, and we looked, and we saw kind of a mafia-looking guy. Not to stereotype or anything, but all of these girls in costumes kept going over to him, and he'd reach into his coat pocket and pull out a couple of $100 and hand them here and hand them there. And we were talking amongst ourselves. I said, "What do you think they are? Circus?" We just had no idea. So I kept staring at them, and I saw an enormous woman, and I recognized her as Mount Fiji from the glorious ladies of wrestling. So then, I was not bashful. And they all signed my autograph book. Natasha and Daisy and Hollywood and Mount Fiji and the farmer's daughter. It was kind of cool. It was pretty funny, especially all of the thoughts that we were thinking before I went up and found out who they were. Another time I was with my girlfriend and we were playing the New England area again, and we stayed over at a very nice luxury hotel in Boston. We got up, got in the elevator to go for breakfast. And when we got on, there were 5 guys that were just huge. And we were kind of wondering what this is all about. So we got down to breakfast, and there was the entire Okland Raiders football team. Howie Long, Todd Christensen, Jim Plunkett, the quarterback. So I met Howie and Chris. These guys loaded up on a plate of pancakes. I mean, this high. They just bulked out on carbs before the game. And it was almost intimidating to be around this kind of tribe of these enormous football players. I was a fan of the Raiders, and they were in town to play the Patriots, who had a terrible record at the time. I enjoyed that. It was pretty cool. One night, my band was playing at J.M. Randall's in Colonial Williamsburg, and Lawrence Taylor, all-pro linebacker, number 76, Lawrence Taylor came in to see us. He led the Giants to 2 Super Bowl victories. On the break, I went out and sat with him and talked to him, and I said, well, how did you happen to be here tonight? And he said, my father has a condo here in Williamsburg, and I just came to visit him and then thought I'd go out and see some live blues. So it was purely by happenstance. I said, well, what are you doing now that you've retired from football? And he said, I'm on Dancing with the Stars, and I'm really excited about it. And I said, really cool. I didn't think to get my picture taken with any of them at the time, but it was a great memory of all of these sports figures and a couple of actors, and I thought I'd share it with you. So I hope you enjoyed this little excursion back into the old-time rock and rollers time box. Now, I hope to see you down the blues highway. So keep love in your heart and a song in your head, and I will see you on the next story of the old-time rock and roller. So long, my friends.